I'm down in Dartington today, which is a bit of a shame because it's my wife's birthday today and it's the first time I haven't been with her on a birthday. So I'm a bit pissed off about that really. But I sent some flowers and left some presents and a cake for the kids to give her. Anyhow, I can't really complain because obviously I'm in a beautiful place. There's some flowers, an old flower bed. There's some topiary trees, they're called the 12 Apostles, those trees apparently. And this general area, I'll just take you out over here before I start talking, this general area is called the Tilt Yard. It looks like medieval, but I think it was built in the 1920s, something like that. And it's modelled on, you know, medieval tilt yards where knights did their jousting. It must have been something like that. You see those raised banks on the other side, you can probably see there in kind of tribute, I guess, to those places where lords and ladies would sit and watch people kill each other. Anyway, it is a fantastic place, I can't deny it. Anyhow, that wasn't really what I was going to talk about. Yeah, I was thinking about Newcastle upon Tyne actually, which is quite a long way away from where I am now. Because obviously I'm down here in the south west, and Newcastle upon Tyne is in the north east of England. But I used to live there for quite a few years ago now, for some time. It's a great town, really, Newcastle. And when I was there, I saw an artist who I mentioned in a previous video, actually, an artist called Annie Sprinkle. Absolutely superb artist. At the time, she was doing a show called Post-Porn Modernist, and it was about her experience and time in the porn industry, because she'd been a porn actress. Yeah, and she turned it into a performance piece, a show, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was funny, it was touching, you know, in a really weird way. Made you feel very strange at times. You know, and she did bits on how to give a blowjob, and she did bits on different penis sizes that she'd come across. I mean, completely upfront stuff and completely fearless. You know, that was one of the things about it. She was completely fearless in all this, and endlessly kind of jovial and happy about it in her present. Well, not happy perhaps, but endlessly. She endlessly kind of owned the material. You know what I mean? It was definitely her life she was talking about. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of what it felt like. Anyway, one part of the performance, which is probably the most famous part, is this part called Cervix examination. You can probably guess where it is from the title of it, which was that at a certain point she invited individual members of the audience up on stage, and I was one of the ones that went up. And she would lie on her back on this, I can't remember if it was a bed or a table, there were both things on the set. Anyway, she'd lay on her back with her legs in the air, put a speculum in her vagina, and invited you to examine her cervix with this torch. She gave you a torch and said, have a look at my cervix. And she talked through what the cervix was and did all this kind of stuff. It was really, really great. I mean, it's terrifying and fantastic all at the same time. You know, a perfectly poised piece of action. You know, because on the one hand, if you're a heterosexual male, or I guess a lesbian female, what you're being invited to do is examine the object of your desire. You know, that's kind of what you're being invited to do. Here's my fanny, have a look at it, you know, it's that kind of thing. So I'm just scrambling up the banks here. So on the one hand you're being invited to do that, but on the other hand you're also being invited to do it in public, you know, so everyone can watch what you're doing, so it feels really pervy at the same time in a really interesting way. And also the fact that it's kind of the framing of it, you know, the fact that it's got a speculum and it's the language of the cervix and the vagina. All that stuff is the anatomy class stuff rather than the language of the nursery or the gutter, as I've heard it phrased elsewhere. It's the language and the actions of the anatomy class. So that's doing something funny to your experience as well. And then the fact that you know, the kind of object of your desire seems to kind of recede from you. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's something very object-like about it. You know, whether I regard that as positive or negative, but there's something very objective about it and object-like. But you're invited to go into closer and closer detail. So from the person of Annie Sprinkle down to her vagina, well, to her crotch area, I suppose, generally, and then down to her vagina, and then inside the vagina to this tiny relatively tiny piece of anatomy, which is just superb. And so the object of your desire is kind of receding, and it's receding into some inner recess that you have to get a torch to find. It's just very bizarre. I mean, lovely, you know what I mean? Lovely thing to do. But it's not a comfortable thing to do for the watcher. I mean, she handled it fantastic. What a performer! But all of her actions, as I say, were completely fearless and completely lacking in any of that kind of resistance or any of that kind of layering of I don't know, anything really. If you brought anything to it in terms of your stigma, and because maybe you might be stigmatized by being what you're being asked to do, to probe inside a person's vagina. Maybe you are feeling slightly strange about that. But if you are, the stigma lies with you, not with anything that Annie Sprinkle is giving off. Her question is an honest one. Do you want to look at my cervix? Really great, really great. I'm so out of shape, I'm breathless, just been climbing up these stupid banks. Very strong smell of garlic here, because a lot of wild garlic grows around here. I'm guessing you won't be able to smell that. But it is pretty, look at that, fucking hell. Look at that, casually placed at the end of this bit, a Henry Moore sculpture. Sometimes this place is so beautiful it makes me ache. There you go. Trees, and we're out of here.